welcome to Express Mobility. In this episode of Mobility Interviews, we have top leader from India's largest car manufacturer, Maruti Suzuki, Mr. Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director, Sales and Marketing. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Without wasting much time, we would first like to know your immediate plans. What's keeping you busy in Q1?
In Q1, overall, if you say that we have a lot of pending payments, and we are trying to maximize the deliveries to our consumers, and also we are getting in touch with consumers who have been waiting for our vehicles to try to explain them the situation and to also thank them for their patience. So we have more than 300,000 payments at the moment which are pending for delivery. So we are hoping to maximize our production and try to serve our customers.
In terms of product plans, I guess you are bringing back the new Ertiga and new XL6. So could you please throw some light on that?
Yes, so we have actually been refurbishing and introducing new products. If you see, very recently we had the new Celerio in November. We introduced the new Baleno very recently, the new WagonR as well with the new engine. And this is in continuation in this month. On the 15th, we will be launching the new Ertiga. And on the 21st of this month, we will be launching the new XL6. So this is, we believe, taking these products to be a very successful products, to taking this to the next level, especially for the new age Indian consumer who is wanting more features, more tech. And that is the direction which you would have seen Maruti Suzuki has taken with Celerio, with the new WagonR, with the new Baleno. And in the same trend will continue in Ertiga and XL6 as well. The MPV segment, of course, as you know, is very, very important. It's been growing in the last few years. It's grown from about 4 or 5% to almost 8% now. And in terms of volume, sheer volume, last year it was about 260,000. And Maruti having almost 61% of the market of that. Our volumes have also greatly increased from roughly about 5,500 just 3 years back to 13,500 in this segment this year, including 10,000 on an average per month for Ertiga and about 3,500 for XL6. So we do hope with these new products, not only will we increase the volumes, but we'll also offer to our customers the aspirational choices that they always sought in our vehicles.
Yeah, as these two new refreshes on the cards, and also the MPV segment is seeing a lot of new entrants in the market and the competition is increasing. So how do you approaching the market this time? What's different? What new you are trying this time?
Yeah, so in terms of our marketing campaign, we are obviously looking at this new age customer. As I explained to you earlier, MPV was earlier a segment for consumers whose choices were determined by the size of their families. So it was sort of a family vehicle where everybody went together for long drives or for travel together. However, what we have found in the last few years, this trend has changed a little bit. So while the traditional targets customer for this segment continues for those people with large families, but also it has become a lifestyle segment, and increasingly we find a lot of customers, even if they are single or if they are a couple or with a very small families, also they are choosing this vehicle because of the multiple lifestyle that it allows for them. In different circumstances, and that is also our campaign for the Ertiga this time. We are saying bringing back together is the tagline, which is all those activities which we have not been doing for the last couple of years for the reason of obvious reason of COVID. This vehicle allows you to enjoy just that old lifestyle. The earlier one of going out with friends, with colleagues in office, with the family, with a small family or large family. So this is something which allows that, and we are now therefore catering to that customer who is more aspirational, who is also wanting to have larger tech features in their cars. And these two vehicles which we are introducing, the new Ertiga and the new XL6, actually have many of those features which the consumer, an aspirational consumer wants.
Can you throw some light on the statistics and the facts you mentioned about how the MPV segment has evolved? How do you see, this growing in the coming few years, next 2 to 3 years?
Yes, so if you talk specifically of the MPV industry, it used to be about in 2007 8 about 68,000 vehicles, the annual volume. When the Ertiga was introduced, that is in 2012, this industry went up to almost 160,000-170,000. For a very long period of time, it hovered in that 180,000-200,000 annual range. However, if you see a last 3 years, it has suddenly increased to almost like 200,000 plus. Last year, it was 260,000. So from a small portion, which is about 4% of the industry, it has now grown to almost 8% of the industry. And I think that is a trend which will continue because, as I said, this is the new age customer, the more aspirational, wanting to see it not just as a carrier of people, but as a something which assesses lifestyle vehicle. So same is also the story for Maruti Suzuki. We came in this segment in 2012 with the Ertiga. We sort of established that compact MPV segment. Earlier used to be only the Innova, which is a much larger vehicle. But we established that segment, the more compact MPV. We were doing about 5,500 vehicles a month till 2019. But after the introduction of the new Ertiga in late 2018 and also the XL6, which we introduced in October 2019, we have seen our volumes climb up from 5,500 to almost 13,500. So it's almost like 3 times the volumes. And with the result that the market share for Maruti Suzuki in this segment has gone up from about 33-34% to almost 61% this year. So it's a very growing segment. I think the future also, it will continue to grow. And we do hope the large market share which we have been able to garner in this segment, we do hope to defend that market share and actually increase it with the launch of the new XL6 and the new Ertiga in this month.
So many reports and industry analysts say, Maruti Suzuki's non-presence in diesel segment has taken up back the market share. What is your opinion? Is that statement really hold true? And what has Maruti done to fill this gap?
Yeah, so if you look at the diesel percentage of the overall industry, it has been coming down. It used to be about 58-60% about 6-7 years back. It came down to about 45, 40, 33, 22 year before last. In last year, it was about 18% overall. But the real story becomes more clear when you look at it segment wise. So if you see, for example, passenger, hatches, it is less than 0.5% is diesel. If you look at the passenger cars overall, that is, if you include sedans in it, it is still less than 2%. If you see vans, it's not present. Diesel is not present in MPVs, and as also in the entry level SUVs, it is around 20%. So the percentage of cars of diesel have come down dramatically. It's only in the large SUVs or the mid SUVs that the presence is substantial, and there is a reason for it. Ever since the diesel prices came close to petrol prices and at a very high level, so diesel and in most parts of the country is still upward of 100 rupees a liter. The running cost, which was the big advantage for diesel earlier when compared with gasoline, that has disappeared because the prices of gasoline and diesel are roughly similar now, just about 5 or 6 rupee difference. If you take the weighted average of sales in the country, of course, there are states where the difference is 11 rupees also or 12 rupees in some states. But overall, on the weighted, the Gujarat, Orissa, Pondicherry, Goa, Jharkhand, the gap is hardly 4 or 5 rupees. So on a weighted average, the gap has come down to just about 5 rupees. And the running cost is therefore around 5 rupee 10 paise, 520 rupees per kilometer 5 rupee 20 paise per kilometer, as against a CNG, which is about 1 rupee 80 paise per kilometer. So the running cost, which was the basic advantage of diesel, has disappeared. And therefore the overall percentage of diesel has come down, as we were mentioning, to about 18% last year. The other thing which is important to note is that when the transition from BS4 to BS6 happened, the gap in the cost of acquisition of a diesel vehicle vis-a-vis petrol vehicle went up. So it used to be about 110,000 rupees. The gap is now on an average 150,000. There are some models where the gap between diesel and petrol vehicles is upward of 200,000 rupees. So the cost of acquisition is higher, became higher, and the running cost became almost similar. So there was no economic logic of buying diesel cars, and that's what we are seeing in the decline. And I think this will continue as long as the prices of diesel and petrol are close and also very high. The alternate to that we have seen is a big jump in CNG vehicles, because as I said, the running cost of CNG vehicle is much less compared with the other two fuels.
As you see, we are moving out of the pandemic right now, and do you think that Indian passenger car market will touch its peak in FY23?
So there is obviously all possibilities. If you see last year's volume were about 30.7 lakh vehicles. This was about 13% higher than last year's of 27.11 lakhs. But going back a little bit, you find that this volume of 30.7 lakh is very close to what the volume of 2016 and 17. So 2016-17, actually the volume was similar. So in 5 years, we have come back to the same volume. So that is a cause of a concern, I would say, because in 5 years, we have not seen, it's almost nil growth in the industry. Of course, there are reasons for it. We have BS4 to BS6, we have the COVID and so on, the supply issue also. And going forward, we are very optimistic. Because the general consensus seems to be, Dipanshu, that among the SIAM members is that the volume would be roughly between 33.4 lakhs to about 35.2 lakhs. That is the range. And of course, there are many caveats to it, including the supply side constraints, the caveat about fuel prices, the caveat about inflation rates, and therefore the consequent high interest rates, which the industry is dependent on. 80% of the retail in the industry happens through financing. And these are an outbreak of COVID again. And such constraints obviously exist. The high commodity prices, and therefore the price of vehicles themselves going up is quite likely. So because of these reasons, but the expected growth in the economy is there, and the auto industry volumes, as you know, is very closely related to the growth of economy and the per capita GDP per capita. So there is a cause for optimism. There is also a cause for being cautious. But I think the next year we can look at, if I combine the two with optimism with a lot of caution.
One last question. Many questions are crossing my mind about the supply chain and everything, but I'll stick to the consumer trend. What are the other consumer trends you're seeing, and what are your observations from the market for the Indian passenger car market from next 2 to 3 years, seeing the electrification connected, a lot of technologies playing a role. How do you see that evolving?
Yeah, so like I said, as long as the economy continues to grow per capita, then I think we will see growth in the overall volumes. The projections in the industry, the CAGRs of between 6 to 8%, which is pretty good. So the volumes in future look good. Second is, if you see the segment wise, the design preference seems to have been more towards the SUV type of vehicle, which is now grown to 40%. I do believe that while this will still grow a little bit, but it's going to plateau over a period, as we have seen in many other countries where we have seen similar trends. Third is the preference for cleaner fuels will be mandated, not only because of consumer choices, but also because of the government regulations. And I think CNG is a very good option, which should see a very large growth, as also the efforts by all the manufacturers towards the cleaner technology including hybrids and other forms of like EVs, for example. That is the other trend. If you from the consumer side, I do believe that we will see a more aspirational buying going forward. We had a smaller aspirational buying in the last 2 years, but I think it will go. And finally, in the terms of process, the digitalization has taken deep roots in the entire auto process, and consumers are actually pushing it even further. And I think all OEMs will have to scale up their digital activities in the future. And these are some of the trends which I see going forward.
Sure. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dipanshu.